Alright, hey guys. So it is time to let's look at chapter 19. So we started the other day. You had vocabulary. I know this is 5 lessons, so it's a fairly long chapter. I don't know that we've had a chapter that was quite this long. We're in chapter 19, and you should be on page 538. And yesterday, you spent 2 days talking about and watching a video and working on a map, and you basically were labeling the geography of Europe. And then you had to write down interesting facts from that video that you were watching that was not based on the geography of Europe, but about medieval Europe at that time. So I know that you had a lot of bodies of water to label, peninsulas, mountain ranges, rivers, and those types of things. So you should be familiar already now with where we're talking about in the world. And we're looking here in lesson 1, medieval Europe. So you should be on page 540 now. And hopefully you have printed this sheet out, okay, because that was in the module. And let me cover up my answers. We're looking at the geography of Europe for this first few paragraphs, and that's what basically the first page covers of your text. And the geography of Europe, first of all, it mentions that it played an important role in shaping how Europeans lived. Okay, so it says Europe is a continent and is also very large. It's a very large peninsula. And remember that a peninsula is a body of it's a piece of land that is surrounded by water on 3 sides. So in the United States, that would be like Florida for us. But Europe is a peninsula. It's a very large peninsula. As a result, most of Europe is within 300 miles of the ocean or sea. Europe also has many rivers. And we listed some of these rivers here, and then you also list them on your map. And these rivers give Europeans access to seas, and they made it easy to travel and trade in other parts of the world. And so that we've discussed that in all of our civilizations, that rivers always play an important role in how people travel and how people trade and what they trade and those types of things. Okay. So large bodies of water, such as the English Channel, and I believe you had to label that, also separated Europe into distinct regions. Mountains played similar roles. So here, ocean, seas, and rivers, this is what they provided: transportation, made it easier to trade. They separated some of the areas. It formed natural barriers because of these bodies of water, and it provided protection. Okay. Mountains separated some of the areas, and we've talked about that with other civilizations where a mountain range may block other civilizations from being able to come in. So let's look at question number 1. All right, it says, so what is a peninsula? And it's a large landmass surrounded by water in all 3 sides, okay? And let's look here at kingdoms in Western Europe. So I'm going to scroll up just a little bit, and we are here. You should be on page 542 now. So should be seeing this picture here at the bottom. Kingdoms in Western Europe. It says, after Rome fell, Western Europe broke into many kingdoms. The Angles and the Saxons invaded Britain and from Denmark and Germany. They became known as the Anglo-Saxons or the English. The strongest Germanic people were called the Franks. They settled in what is now France and Western Germany. In 496, King Clovis of the Franks accepted Catholic Christianity. Nearly all of the Franks became Catholic too. After Clovis died, power passed from the kings to the government officials. A leader named Charles Martel defeated invading Muslims at the Battle of Tours in 732. This stopped the spread of Islam in Western Europe. So that's what the Battle of the Tours did. It stopped the spread of Islam. Christianity remained the main religion in the region, okay? So that's what the Battle of the Tours did. You might want to remember that. After Charles Martel died, his son Pipin eventually became the new king of the Franks. He forced the Germanic group called the Lombards to leave Rome. He then gave the Pope the land he had taken from the Lombards. So question number 2 says, why are rivers important to the people of Europe? So we discussed that earlier, and here's reasons why they're important. But rivers made it easy to travel and trade, and I said that a second ago. All right, so question number 3 says, underline the names of the Germanic groups that invaded and settled in Britain during the Middle Ages. And that was the Angles and the Saxons, so be sure you underline that. All right, on to the next page. Okay, I got to cover up my answer still. Let's see. This is being very difficult. All right, so we're still here in Western Europe on page 542 and 543. So this is what we're looking at, the pictures we're looking at. I'm covering up my answers. So it says here, let's see if I can do this to make it easier. There we go. After Pipin died, his son Charles became king. You can't see that, can you? All right, many battles against neighboring kingdoms. By 800, Charles' kingdom was an empire covering much of Western and Central Europe. He was called Charlemagne. Okay, you're going to want to remember his name, which means Charles the Great. So Charlemagne, this is what his name was meant, Charles the Great. The Pope made Charlemagne the new Roman emperor. Charlemagne used local officials to help him govern. He started a school for the children of government officials. Students studied religion, Latin, literature, and math. When Charlemagne died, his empire broke into separate kingdoms. Muslims, Magyars, and Vikings attacked these kingdoms in the 800s and 900s. The Vikings came from Scandinavia in northern Europe. Scandinavia coast has many, it's fjords. Fjords are strips of water between steep slopes where the water cuts into the land. I think it's fords is actually how you say that. I think I said that wrong. Vikings depended on the sea for food and trade. So fords are strips of water between steep slopes. In 911, a group of nobles tried to unite small territories in Germany by electing a king. Otto I was one of the strongest kings of Germany. He defeated the Magyars and freed the Pope from the control of Roman nobles. To reward Otto, the Pope named him Roman Emperor in 1962. So Germanic rulers, Clovis, Charles Martel, Charlemagne, and Otto I. And this is what they accomplished here. So he became a Christian in 496, Clovis did. He stopped the invasion of the Muslims in 732. Charles Martel, and Charlemagne united Europe in one empire, crowned Roman emperor by the Pope, and Otto I united Germans and became the Roman emperor. All right, so question number 5, let's look here. It says, we're not doing 4. How were the Catholic Church and Roman emperors connected to each other? So remember, the Pope supported rulers such as these people, Charles Martel, Charlemagne, Pipin, and Otto I, who in return, let's see, they protected the Pope from enemies. I don't know if you can see that. Charlemagne and Otto were both crowned emperors by the Pope. So basically, the emperors protected the Pope, okay? Question number 6, what impact did the Battle of Tours have on European history? It stopped the spread of Islam in Western Europe. So remember, that was on the previous page. I said you might want to remember that. That was what the Battle of the Tours did. It stopped the spread of Islam. Okay, let's look at the last page here. Let me flip it over and cover up my answer here. So we're talking about, let me flip this over here. So here's invading tribes like the Vikings we were talking about. And now let's see, I think we're on here, this page 546. So disagreements grew between the Pope and the kings over who had the greater authority. And it says in 1073, Pope Gregory VII and Holy Roman Emperor Henry IV fought over the issues. Henry wanted to keep his power and name high-ranking church officials called bishops. Gregory declared that only the Pope could choose bishops. He cast Henry out of the Catholic Church. German nobles chose a new king, but Henry took over Rome and replaced the Pope. Still, this dispute was not settled. In 1122, a new Pope king agreed that only the Pope could choose bishops. However, they decided that only the emperor could give government jobs to bishops. The deal was called the Concordat of Worms. The Concordat is an agreement between the Pope and the ruler of a country. When Innocent III became Pope in 1198, he wanted to make sure that only the Church could appoint bishops. He was able to control kings. If a king did not obey, he would be punished. So question number 7 said, what major issue did the king and the popes disagree on? Sorry, you couldn't see that. What major issue did the king and the pope disagree on? Over who had greater authority. That's what they disagreed on. Question number 8, you don't have to do. On your own, you're going to answer these check for understanding questions. So you want to use these sheets. So either make sure you print them out or view them on your screen. All right, if you have any questions, guys, send me an email. Remember to submit these tomorrow by 8 a.m. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I miss you, and stay safe. Bye, guys.